What's up, guys? How's it going? Welcome back to Atlas Theory. Today, I have a very special guest with me, co-founder and CRO of Star Atlas, Pablo Quiroga. How are you doing today?
Doing great, man. Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
It's great to have you on. Also, guys, if you're at home and want to follow along on some of the tweets over on Twitter, it is at Star Sapa, I believe, right? Which
Yes.
means bringer of light, correct?
Yeah, man. How did you know that? You're the first
I'm
person
trying to
who got that. That's
trying to do
awesome.
a little research. Kind of let's go back just real fast to your origins. You have been CRO at Vanguard Scientific. You have also been an investor and advisor in the psychedelic sector and digital therapeutics. How does that journey from your past and current like bring you along into the world of Star Atlas?
Oof. Beautiful question. So I don't know where to start because no one's asked that, and it's one that's super dear to me. It's very close to my heart. It's a big reason why I'm here in inside the metaverse at such an early stage with Star Atlas. And for me, what's been really interesting is really exploring this journey of what it means to develop our senses and emotions and characteristics that make us human, and some of those aspects that have been able to um, really provide us with a different glimpse into our consciousness has been breath work and psychedelic assisted psychotherapy modalities that I've been able to experience myself. Um, so I also know that there's a lot of people around the world that suffer from mental health, things like anxiety and depression. And the current system, whether it's a pharmaceutical supply chain and how they decide to bring their drugs to market, or just the lack of education and research and clinical trials. I wanted to be a part of this global movement of groups from indigenous entities in the Amazon, all the way to corporate board members in Germany and Canada that are part of the psychedelic space and addressing mental health. So for me, I think that there's a lot of industries that are really important in advancing consciousness right now. One of those is cannabis. Another one is psychedelics. And the third one for me is now blockchain. Um, there's something really interesting between all three categories. And I think it has to do a lot with shifting the way that we look at things and the way that we live our lives. One that leads with wanting more access and wanting more community. We've been for so many years historically have always wanted to be a part of community, right? That's
Right.
friends and family, um, and guilds, right? And
Mm-hmm.
DACs.
Yeah.
There's something there that kind of connects. There's a common denominator, and I think it has to do with community and access. And so, yeah, it's been really cool to see how blockchain is now like at the intersection of a
Right.
lot of these verticals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. That's exciting. Now, along the same kind of thought, bringing in Star Atlas, is there like a piece of content or like science fiction that has also inspired you along your journey?
Sure. Uh, I think just UFOs in general. Well, any movie that had to do with UFOs and aliens was like a window for me to explore even further. And then I loved, watching movies, of course, Star Wars, huge fan. But also movies like, The Fifth Element, and Prometheus was a recent one that just kind of like, the engineers and stuff, like it just blew my mind.
I loved that.
Arrival, it's really, yeah. So I do a lot of research in that too, because I was born in Peru. And actually one of my majors was Latin American cultural studies. So we did a lot of like research in the history of ancient civilizations, like the Mayans and the Incas. And so, there's always a lot of connections there with the stars and these ancient civilizations like Egypt as well. So,
yeah, that I actually based my DAC off of Piece of Egypt history. So
yeah,
I love that, all that stuff.
yeah.
Now going into like the beginning, the origin of like Star Atlas, could you like give us a peek maybe behind the door into like the initial conversation and how this all got started?
Sure. I have to give it up to the team, the co-founders like Michael Wagner, Danny Floyd, Jacob Floyd, which are brothers, my favorite brothers on the planet. They are the inception of this idea. They were the ones in the room. I think I was subconsciously there when it was happening. I came in right when towards the end of like the first draft of the white paper. Somewhere like the white paper was basically like almost finalized, right? But listening to them, how they kind of conceptualized all this was really like it was just innate. It was something that they do that they've done for a really long time. So Danny's really big into gaming. Jacob loves working with this alien technology called blockchain and Web3. And Michael, he sees numbers when others see trees, and buildings, right?
Yeah.
So when I read the white paper, however, it was super focused on gaming, right? And MMORPG and play to earn concept, the economic skeleton backbone was there. The perspective I brought that I think now is a big conversation. I don't want to say that it just came from me, but I definitely voiced, the vision here around a metaverse. And it's because in 2008 in undergrad, I had a professor who was actually advising Toyota at the time to enter Second Life through a financial vehicle. So like through a commercial relationship. And so I've been doing case studies on Second Life since like 2008. So I've been aware of like virtual economies and metaverses for some time in the frame of virtual reality and this sort of environments. So when I first heard of Star Atlas, I was like, yeah, if we could really create this Unreal Engine 5 hyper realistic experience, what if we turned around and also added all the aspects of social life? And then that's what really secured my role, and then wanted to be like, hey, come and join us, right? Like, you get it, get it. And so, because I did, right? And it didn't take me long at all to really see all of that, and then push it even further. So, for us, when I came on, it was like around December. And then by January, like I didn't sleep. I kid you not. I have a wife, I have a 3-year-old. At the time she was 2. And, I did not sleep. I mean, I was a walking zombie after that month, but, it didn't matter because there was so much information that I just absorbed.
Yeah.
That I came back to the group and I was like, all right, guys, this is how I think I can really add value to this. And then these are some of my opinions and perspectives on where I kind of see this. And that just really like solidified everything. We just got to work and then we're here.
Awesome. Awesome. That's awesome. That's great that you mentioned Second Life, because I grew up like reading science fiction, but it wasn't till like I hopped on to Second Life for the first time that my mind shifted into like what would later be known as the metaverse. I was like, this is the future right here.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, you're kind of reminding me of it just sitting here having this conversation. Like the first time I got into Second Life, like literally I remember just walking to this place where it's kind of like the ocean and there was like some people hanging around, and I naturally like, I'm good on a 101 like this, but you put me in a group setting and I'm a little bit like, I'm just going to go find someone to talk to because you know, I don't need to be like in the crowd. So in Second Life, it was really funny. It was like, I almost felt the same way. And so I would just go off and just walk away from where people were and just like start looking at the sky, but it was like a digital sky. Right. And I would just like look, I would like, you know, press the up button because I was probably on a laptop or something. And I would just look around and I was looking at the buildings and I was just like trying to absorb like, this is crazy. Right. But it was my imagination that was a part of that experience, because I was just looking at a blue screen, but in my mind, I'm like, this is going to be the stars are, I'm going to be able to see stars, you know, I'm going to be able to travel through this digital place. Like that's that's what kept me in Second Life. And like, you know, it was more like, okay, this is like level 1, right? You know, it doesn't look like Sonic the game, right? Because that's how old I am. But it's still cool, right? So yeah, it's cool.
That's great. I remember doing something similar, but I think it was like with the city, just watching the buildings and being like, but so moving on from the origins of Star Atlas, we have had many awesome releases. What has been your favorite project to work on so far?
It's really difficult to pin one. I think what's really satisfying to work in such a space where there's so much creativity, technical creativity, you know, crazy hair day creativity, you know, business creativity, like every single thing that a regular gaming company or a regular business needs to operate or execute. When you're working, when you put that Web3 lens on, all of that changes. And the opportunity to really change the way you do those things in every single career, marketing, engineering, development, product design, all of it, it changes because that's the beauty, right? Like that's the innovative, that's the cutting edge stuff. So to give you one though, to kind of like, it is Rebirth. Like Rebirth was like our rebirth. Like Rebirth was our way for the company, for the team members that were part of Star Atlas at that point. This was like February, like when we started. It wasn't planned. Let me tell you this: Rebirth campaign was not something that we planned. It was no documentation. It came from like not sleeping and really understanding where this was going to be and getting a pulse, getting feedback from the community. What do people really want to experience, right? Because we're far away from the game, but people really want something about Star Atlas. So how can we share that story, the lure of the game? How can we gather around the campfire, right? And talk about some of the mystery of the game. This is that experience when the first time I'm in Second Life in 2008, looking at a building in the sky. right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how can we bring people into Star Atlas without even having something? And that's when we turned to XR, and we landed on AR. We landed on music, which is something, music brings people together during the worst times, you know, on the planet. So, you know, let's add music, and then let's, you know, gift people rewards who are early adopters and are early supporters of Star Atlas. And then that comes in the rewards for the in-game assets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it has to be kind of my favorite one because it was the first one where like all team members from the different departments came together and we all committed to executing on it. And I think we did a hell of a job, you know? Yeah.
You did. I speaking of, again, Second Life, like it was kind of that experience like you touched on. Like I remember sitting there waiting for like the first poster, and once I got my phone up, you know, saw the AR, read the lore, it was the start of a whole new journey, and like I really fell in love with the entire project.
Yeah,
And
for
I think
sure.
it was a week later I started this channel. A week or two
There you
later,
go,
yeah,
man.
something like that.
Yeah, I think it inspired us. It inspired the community, and I think that that's kind of the reason why. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of that first community inspiration, jumping all the way to now when you have these big DAX guilds jumping up all over the place. Now, out of all the work the DAX and content creators have done so far, um, is there like a type of content or concept you're surprised hasn't been touched on more or discovered that you kind
Sure.
of had? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fantastic. You know, we haven't had that much time to think about the DAX. Although, you know, hats off and, you know, power to the people, to every single DAC out there that have been creating content for their tribe, for their ecosystem, in the form of podcasts, newsletters, websites, your own, like, you know, ship listing, you know, exchanges, you know, your dashboards. I feel like I'm missing stuff, but the beauty of the DAX right now is that you're creating with the people that want to create with you, and you're creating towards something that you believe in, which in this case happens to be Star Atlas. And the ability for DAX to create at such an early stage, and also you know, create this regenerative energy of content creation, of in-game buying, purchasing in-game assets, of creating sub DAOs, right? There's like sub DAX right now.
Yeah.
Is a fantastic thing that, to be honest with you, we didn't expect was going to happen so early. But now that it's here, we've actually internally, we're looking towards 2022, you know, plans, and we've included DAX as a big cornerstone in what we're going to be developing for next year. So, you know, as we you know, the year's not over, right? We still have some bangers to get out there, and we're really excited about what's coming on December. I mean, it's going to be amazing. But you know, looking towards the Q1, Q2 of next year, we really hope to release some interesting tools for DAX, and also continue defining what DAX are going to look like, you know, moving into the future. So there's aspects of gameplay that DAX are going, you know, might focus on in regards to growing their ship portfolios, or growing their members at their DAX, learning how to operate, learning how to automate, you know, and strategizing how they're going to perform, right? But at the same time, we've actually had an influx of DAX who are really interested in being a part of Star Atlas, but they're leaning more towards supporting and creating around the social aspects of Star Atlas. And so, when we look at the metaverse, we're going to be having this social experience like this on a podcast while the game is being played in real time. And so even though there might be a Pierce X4 going after a Visus, good luck. But, maybe there's 10 of them. And even though we're watching that happening, right? And they're about, they saw each other at the red lights and they started talking smack. So they're like, let's go meet in the deep zone, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So we're watching them go off, right?
Uh-huh.
But we're still hanging out, right? We're having this good time. This is social.
Mm-hmm.
The craziness can be happening around us, but in the eye of the storm, we can be calm, relax, and chill and just watch the action.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's going to be a lot of those environments that are going to really, really take off next year around the social perspective and social experience that people want to create and have. So DACs, I see a big wave of DACs coming in from the music industry, from the technology industry, software, Web2 companies who want to get their feet wet in Web3. We're talking to people who are they want to get engaged, and we're telling them, listen, if you really want to be a part of Soralis, create a DAC and get involved and create. Right? There's nothing stopping anyone from doing that, and that's what's fun, right? So I think next year is going to be really, really exciting for DACs, not just the game focused portion of it, which I think is going to be it's a cornerstone. But I think we're going to see a big influx of the social DACs come in.
I can't wait. That's one of the aspects I'm most excited for. I remember, I think one of your replies on Twitter, because it described what I've had in my head this whole time, like showing up in the Firmamental jacket with the rainbow and going to a concert,
Oh yeah.
Just like all these future social, experiences that we're going to have. But going off of this experience, is there anything you would like to add about maybe your vision on how you see building wealth and play to earn in Star Atlas and the metaverse as we move into the future?
Certainly. My life, one of my life missions is always to create a bridge between ancient technology and new territory, new defining territory. We're in new defining territory, right? We get to wake up, we have a roof over our heads, we have cool computers, expensive equipment so that we can create content. We probably have cars, we have bicycles, we have things that other people consider to be luxuries. We have it good, right? And then there's this ancient technology that's embedded inside ancient wisdom, which are people that are living in the Amazons or living in the Himalayas or living in southern India, in Karulus, down rivers. People who hold a lot of insight around ancient tech, which has to do with breath, which has to do with learning from nature around them, like water and trees, and being able to really, really understand what it means to hold space in a community and to be a part of a community, and to also look at value very differently than what you and I look at value on a daily basis. And so those people are vessels of ancient tech that we've lost. Modern day people like you and I, we've lost our way in the sense of our touch to nature. And so because they're there all day and they don't have the cool distractions that we have, that we think are cool, they're right there, man. They're plugged in to that natural blockchain, literally, they're nodes of so much information. So this isn't about extracting that technology, taking over the bridge and staying there. This is about creating a full circle loop that provides exchange. And so what I would love is for people all over the world who have completely different cultures don't feel like they have to change the way their lives are to satisfy their kids' aspirations to want something greater in life. And because a lot of times people think what's greater in life might be going to the United States and doing the American dream, which is something my parents thought. And thank you to them, because I love the United States and I love being here. I love this opportunity that I have right now. But there's also the other side of that, which is, hey, like, you don't need to move across the world and travel because there's more opportunity there. You don't have to forget about your language and your culture and your community because there's opportunity somewhere else. That opportunity should have access. You should have access to that opportunity from your mobile device. Yeah. And that's the power of blockchain and Web3 and gaming, right? Because in Star Atlas, you can play the game and you can earn. In Star Atlas, you can create, you can be an entrepreneur, and you can earn. And your time spent in your digital life has a return. And that return, you can use it however you like, right? That's the billionaire we want to be. Right. We don't want to make billions. We want to have impact on billions of people.
Love it. Oh man, I feel like we could talk about this one thing and just keep going with it. Maybe another time, another podcast for sure. But that's beautiful. That's I think that's one of the best, explanations of that bridge that I've heard. Now, kind of shifting into the current state of the game. How do you deal with, or do you want to touch on Twitter? I don't know what we want to call it. Some feedback, some hate, some criticism from the community about, like, when is this happening? Like the when game, where's the gameplay? Where's,
Yeah. Hey man, I went to I learned Kempo karate when I was a kid. At like 12 or 14, I had one of those. 12 and 14, I was playing very high competitive soccer and competitive karate. And I earned my stripes on my belts, and I earned a lot of different colored belts. And when I need to get down and get my Bruce Lee on, I'll get down and get my Bruce Lee on, right? Yeah. But awesome. Right now is not the time to get the Bruce Lee on, because the reality is that, we have over 150 men and women across 16 countries right now that are working day and night, building out this vision that we're chatting about today. Exactly. And, Jacob, Danny, Michael, and myself are overseeing and also rolling up our sleeves daily to be a part of this build. And what's exciting is the amount of productivity that we're seeing from all of our departments and divisions. The thing about that productivity is that there's a time and a place of when we share that with the rest of the public. And so we know what we have. We know what we're building. We know exactly what this is going to look like in a few weeks, in a few months, in a few years. And we know we're executing because we can see it. The big question when we've expressed this is like, okay, then show it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, if we were all led with our ego, we would have shown you tons of stuff a long time ago and been like just showing off, right? And really, at that point, if we did that too, people would probably come back and say, oh, they're just doing that for hype, and right. We're not going to make everyone happy all the time. That's okay. We have to live with that, right? Like, we have to carry that. But I can just tell you that we have all the confidence in the world that when we release something, a lot of people are going to slowly understand the reason why we believe in quality first, and the reason why we're looking out in the best interest of the community by sometimes pushing out a date forward, right? So SCORE, you know, we'll bring in the elephant in the room. We've pushed SCORE a couple times. We have people who are just obsessed with perfection, right? Now, we're also managing the fact that we don't want, you know, for perfection to be to work against us. You know, that's why we're actually working on the minigame. If we weren't working on the minigame, no one would be experiencing anything until the end of next year. Right. So this is actually our very specific plan to begin engaging with people. Now, we also want that to be the most optimal experience. And so it's almost here. We know people are going to love it. And we can't wait, you know, for people to experience it. But yeah, you know, to the trolls and to the people who are out there, a lot of times just want attention, right? So I mean, listen, like we don't, what's interesting is like we don't get DMs, right? Like we don't get emails. Like, there's no one like really saying, it's like they're just like tweeting something to tweet it, you know? There's like someone on Twitter and I see them, and when I see it, I laugh because it's like the same person always saying the same negative thing. At this point, I think he's probably like a really big fan of mine who just doesn't know how to say, hey, I like what you're doing. You know? Or at least I'm just making that up in my mind. So
good mentality. I like it. I've mentioned it. I mean, I've even seen it on this channel. I think there's like one or two people who every video it's like, when no gameplay scam, like when the game, you know, it's just, oh man. But yeah, no, a lot of us are here. As you know, we support. We can't wait to see you guys keep building out the vision. One last question going off that vision. Let's like fast forward to like
just really sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But like I do want to say that like you and creators are part of this vision. Like you're building this with us, right? Like this, what we're doing right now of recording this moment and these questions and stuff, like you're part of building this vision. Like the vision is co-created with the community. So I just want to say thanks to you and like every other person out there in the community who has done anything, even if it's just not seen by the public, just, you know, thinking that Star Atlas is amazing. I love what they're doing. Just that, like any support is welcome with big hugs. So definitely appreciate it, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And and thank you for coming on. And I've talked to many people out there, creators, you know, guild owners, just, it's an awesome community and it's a pleasure building with everybody.
Truly is.
But let's get into you as maybe a player experiencing Star Atlas. Let's fast forward. The game's done. The metaverse is built. What are you doing the first day when you jump into the game?
You know, and this is kind of, that's a great question. That's a great way to get me to say something about the future. Great question. Very, very direct. And I think I'm probably going to go and stick my head in one of the waterfalls that are going to exist. You know,
awesome.
I'm gonna take my avatar and have them, you know, go and just sit under the waterfall. From there, I'm gonna go do some breath work in a planetary dome where I can see all these like insane visuals that are created from content creators around the community, while listening to, you know, an amazing sound that I don't know, that is created by Blondish, or one of our favorite artists right now, Star Atlas. That's going to be my day, man. You know, it's kind of like what I described in the tweet that you mentioned earlier. It's like, I'm going to go and explore all this stuff and probably just wrap up with hanging out with a ton of people, you know, and just, you know, finding really good conversations. It's just a start, man. I feel like, you know, that is probably going to happen, I hope, a lot sooner than later. When we think about maybe like 50 years, I think that's going to get super interesting, you know,
Yeah.
because then by then, man, we're talking about like, you know, there's probably going to be digital therapeutic programs already hooked up to this. I wonder where AI is going to be by then.
Yeah.
I wonder where AR is going to be by then. And so a lot more people are going to be immersed, you know, into this digital world. And so all of our senses are going to just explode, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. But thank you for coming on. It was a great conversation, and I'd love to have you again on the channel sometime.
Absolutely, 100%, man. Let's do it.
Awesome.